Heads up, everybody, a bit of a content warning at the top here. I'm going to be talking about sex and suicide, so if either of those things upset you, maybe give this video a skip. Earlier this year, researchers published a paper in the European Journal of Epidemiology in which they argue that Viagra getting cheaper reduced male suicides in Sweden. I only just noticed this because it popped up on Reddit's science subreddit this week for some reason. Why do these things happen? I have no idea. Also, you're welcome for me not making a Viagra popping up joke. I couldn't make it work. Anyway, it obviously caught my eye, so I read through the study, and let me just say straight up, it is not the most impressive thing I've read this week. Scientists at University of California and Uppsala University in Sweden looked at how the suicide rate in Sweden changed after the patent for Viagra expired there in 2013. Prior to that, Viagra cost about $11.50 a pill in Sweden. And after the expiration, it cost about $3 a pill. Allow me to pause for just a moment here to point out that here in the United States, generic Viagra, known as sildenafil, costs about $40 a pill. $40. Now, post-patent expiration, that's generic. Because, here in the United States, we are free, unburdened by the horror that is universal healthcare, or whatever. Anyway, the researchers found that once the price of Viagra dropped to a quarter of its initial price in Sweden, suicides dropped too. So that's it, right? Hard dicks save lives. Except, okay, you already probably assume that this is correlation, not causation. Hard dicks may save lives, or maybe there's some other thing that happened that reduced suicides and it was just a coincidence. This study does not show cause and effect. But also, this study about peen hacking may suffer from pee hacking. I'm sorry. I've talked about this loads in the past, but pee hacking involves looking at a bunch of data and picking out only the bits that show an effect, meaning you're more likely to just be highlighting a coincidence. In this case, the researchers did not just find an overall drop in suicides. They found a drop in male suicides, but not even just male suicides. Just men between the ages of 50 and 59. And not just men between the ages of 50 and 59, but a drop in suicides in men between the ages of 50 and 59 only in the first 18 months after the drop in price. So they didn't see this result in women or in men aged 40 to 49 or in men aged 60 to 69 or in anyone after 2016 when the effect all but disappeared. The researchers say that the men aged 50 to 59 is the most important cohort anyway because they had a higher rate of suicides and were more likely to get prescriptions for Viagra. But a truly great study would have pre-registered this hypothesis before crunching the data. Here's the difference. Let's say I wanted to do a study on the most common result in the game of Plinko. My hypothesis is that if there are 12 bins, bin 7 is going to be the most common result when dropping the ball down the middle. Because, that bin is close to the middle, not quite, and the moon is in retrograde, and etc. If I pre-register this hypothesis, then I didn't just run 100 Plinko simulations and then say whichever bin 1 is the most likely result, which is what I actually did. And it's actually just a coincidence that bin 7 was the leader after 117 balls. If we collect more data, you'll see that the actual most likely bin is bin 6, the one right in the middle. Big shock. Also why, it's important to have a lot of data in these matters. So in order to verify the results found in this Swedish study, we would have to see similar results in other countries. You may be able to even compare suicide rates between countries that have universal health care, where the pill is very cheap, compared to those who do not have universal health care and are paying ridiculous amounts of money for the little blue pill. All of this isn't to say that I think that their results are outlandish, because I'm not saying that at all. I'm definitely one of those people who does bring up Viagra whenever people claim that birth control isn't real medicine and therefore shouldn't be covered by insurance, an argument that unfortunately I've seen a lot of over the years. The argument is obviously wrong. Birth control helps women regulate their cycle, decreases the pain associated with conditions like endometriosis, and it prevents us from getting pregnant, an extremely dangerous condition that can result in death or just 18 or so years of abject misery for those of us who don't want children and for the new life form that has just been forced into existence. But that counter-argument rarely works because the people making the initial argument actually don't think of women as people per se. So their misery means nothing. So it's helpful to say things like, well, then is Viagra real healthcare that should be covered by insurance? Why is it so important to make sure that men have sex, but not important to make sure that women don't get pregnant as a result of sex? And I think that counter argument works a little bit better because it highlights the hypocrisy of the person making the initial argument and exposes their true feelings about women and sex. That said, I've never loved making that argument because it implies that it's not actually important healthcare to make sure men can have sex if they want to have sex with a willing partner. And in fact, I think it is. Sex is an important part of our health. Masturbation is as normal and healthy as eating and drinking. And enjoying a sexual relationship with another willing partner is both physically and psychologically beneficial for everyone who has sexual feelings. It goes hand in hand with the benefits we get from intimacy, which isn't necessarily reliant upon getting and maintaining an erection, but it's understandable that humans link the two things. I don't think that it's a sign of toxic masculinity or what have you if people who are used to getting pleasure from an erect penis want to continue that activity despite aging or diseases that get in the way. No one deserves sex or intimacy, but if modern medicine and other interventions can help people improve their sexual health, there's ample evidence to suggest that that will also improve their psychological health. Research has shown that prostate cancer patients can become significantly depressed even though they have very good survival rates. The risk of suicide in prostate cancer patients remains elevated for years after successful treatment, thanks in part to lasting side effects of treatment like impotence. And it's not just men. When women experience disorders that negatively impact their sex life, their risk of suicide and depression also skyrockets. So while I'm not sure that cheaper Viagra had a noticeable impact on suicides for men in Sweden, I am sure that being able to access drugs that help people maintain their usual desired sex life results in a better quality of life for everyone. And as silly as it is that there are insurance companies that would cover Viagra but not birth control, it's worth noting that both of those things are net positives for the people who are taking them. Humans are happier when they can enjoy sex and intimacy without pain or humiliation. I mean, unless you're into that. I'm not kink shaming here.